So, before we kick things off today, I want to fire off a monologue on a topic I have never really covered before: the alphabet people. And yes, do strap in because I'm going to do to this what I do to every other topic: violate it repeatedly with blunt force trauma. Now, the reason for my abstinence with regards to this topic is because I think the movement and everything these people stand for is completely fucking worthless. To me, the existence of their movement is a sign our civilization is in decline, a society devoid of meaning and purpose, oozing excessive decadence, leading to large swaths of the population resorting to creating problems to fill the empty void felt by those who live for nothing. The identity portion of their ideology is a total farce. It's window dressing. It's a political movement, a Trojan horse drowning in regurgitated 60s hippie colors, a cheap ploy to disguise the hideous authoritarian streak lurking underneath. And because this movement is rather anti-Western, these people have no concept of any individual development. As such, they gravitate towards the cringe fringe in a deluded attempt to feel a sense of belonging. Any strike against them is felt by the whole community, and the slightest victory, no matter how small, they think they somehow had a hand in it. And as a result, these people take on all the qualities of the group, becoming walking caricatures, dripping with stereotypical behavior you can spot just by asking a question or two. And as these traits become plastered everywhere thanks to the mainstream culture, we become accustomed to them. So those who do exhibit these traits, we simply dismiss their ilk as bland, boring dullards. Now, when it comes to Dave Chappelle, I truly believe these people are either completely lacking in any semblance of self-awareness, or, but potentially also, all have the mentality of teenage girls, desperately crying out for some attention and validation, regardless of whether or not it's positive or negative. Now, because they are collectivists and said bland, boring dullards, they are also highly predictable. And any reaction that results from one member of the tribe perceiving something as a slight against them, it's amplified by the entire population of that community, which makes them the perfect target for comedy, which is predicated on a reaction, which you constantly feed into, and the resulting outrage drives people to watch Chappelle rip you a new one. If you want Chappelle to stop mocking your thin-skinned, hypersensitive selves, try listening to Dave's own words. You could shut the fuck up. I hope that clears up my feelings on the matter. Oh, but wait, there is more. So we're going to look at this article. Granderson, what Dave Chappelle keeps getting wrong. Ooh, I'm likely going to tear into this like a wild lion. There are queer people in Selma, Alabama. That community is about 80% black, by the way, just to provide some context for you. You know, in all of my years I visited, watched documentaries, and followed news coverage of civil rights activists crossing the Edmund Pettus Bridge in observance of Bloody Sunday, it never occurred to me that some of the foot soldiers in 1965 were queer, or that some of the residents who currently live in this historic town are. What the fuck is wrong with your head? That when you look at the civil rights movement, for whatever bloody bizarre reason, the thought that strikes your head is, I wonder what made those people's genitals tickle. These people are nuts. It wasn't until I watched screeners from season 2 of the Emmy-nominated reality TV show We're Here that I became aware of some of the ways I subconsciously contribute to my own queer erasure. Reality TV shows get Emmy nominations? Please kill me now. And what the hell is queer erasure? I swear these people think their identity is the only thing that validates their existence, while it does absolutely nothing productive for society, which is why they all suck. In fact, it wasn't until the Selma episode of the HBO series, which begins its second season on Monday in time for National Coming Out Day, that I became aware of how much I had accepted the lack of intersectionality in the retelling of our times. What the hell is it with this person? Emmy-nominated, now second season premiere? Do you have a point to this crap, or are you just simping for these mediocre shows? And how about we mix your coming out day with a gay pride parade and kill two birds with one stone? Or better yet, we stop giving a right bollock about either. Far as retelling our times goes, you know why those details were absent? Because no one fucking cares about details that don't forward the plot, you wanker. Or in Dave Chappelle's case, the retelling of jokes. Oh good, finally, you stopped wasting my time with your piss-poor pointless introduction. Let's see what they have to say. Now, I happen to think Chappelle is one of the most brilliant comedians to ever pick up a microphone. But when it comes to intersectionality, he has painfully glaring blind spots, continuing to tell jokes about the rainbow through a prism of black and white. That's pretty ironic coming from a member of the Rainbow Coalition that lacks the finer qualities to appreciate the comedic beauty of grayscale. And yes, that is quite a deep, thought-provoking phrase. Far as the blind spot goes, get lost, you're just a whiny-ass bitching about him making fun of you, and your reaction is why it's funny for the rest of us. Actually, by that logic, I probably should stop making this video and encourage their petty outrage. In his new Netflix special, when he said the rapper DaBaby, who had been criticized for homophobic comments, punched the LGBTQ community right in the AIDS, Chappelle could have easily subbed out LGBTQ for black, because no group contracts or dies from the virus more than black people, and not just queer men. Okay, I'm going to violate a rule of comedy that you should never ever do, and explain this joke. If the reaction from the rapper's verbiage was members of the alphabet hippies, then it makes no sense for Chappelle to say black people in that joke. And even if it was it black people or a certain subsection of them that ascribed to, say, perhaps a non-racial group identity? I think we know the answer to that question. No wonder these people bitch so much about comedy. Most of the funny parts fly over their dim-witted heads. Black women account for nearly 60% of new HIV cases among women. See Californian law for details. Speaking of which, when Don't Ask, Don't Tell was forcing queer people out of the military, robbing them of their careers, no group was hurt more by this policy than black women. Okay, so question for everyone watching. Do you think that means, as a group in the military, the biggest percentage of people that were expelled because of this law happened to be black women? Or do you think it means the largest demographic of people expelled because of this rule was black women? Frankly, I have a hard time believing either. And I find it pretty funny the same people who bitch constantly about the military would bang on about this. And what they don't mention is Don't Ask, Don't Tell was signed by Clinton, someone who the black community revered. Dave Chappelle has said in a previous special he would vote for Clinton again if he could, and he got a round of applause for that. Most of the trans people killed and their deaths ignored, black. I could go on, but I think you get the picture. I don't think you get the whole picture. I'd say almost all black trans people are killed by other black people. Does that make black people transphobic, I wonder? Oh, there is a question you will never hear in the mainstream. Maybe if more people knew that Bayard Rustin, an openly queer black man, introduced the Reverend Martin Luther King Jr. to the principles of nonviolence and organized the March on Washington, they would see how nonsensical Chappelle's us versus them brand of humor really is. Okay, what on earth was the point of that? Someone of a different sexuality taught MLK something that was completely unrelated to sexuality. And yet you are the one getting irate at a comedian making jokes. You come across as humorless, obsessed, and pathetic, which makes me think you have other issues. And then we have some BS about Bayard Rustin and James Baldwin, two prominent figures in the civil rights movement, and their sexual identity being erased from the context of their work with regards to the civil rights movement. I am wondering, does it occur to the author of this piece that maybe black people at the time did not exactly want someone of that sexual persuasion heading their liberation movement? Just a thought. But am I the only one who couldn't give a toss about someone's sexuality when it has nothing to do with the broader context of their work? We have several prominent people on our side of the political aisle who are gay. Douglas Murray and Dave Rubin, for example. Do we care at all about their sexuality? No, because it has nothing to do with the ideas that they're putting forward. I don't know what it is with the left. For a group obsessed with deconstructionism, their puristic tendencies with regards to ideological rigidity is baffling. And a huge chunk I'm going to skip here, because frankly reading this is making me lose the will to live. The Human Rights Campaign reports at least 38 transgender and, I'm not reading that stupid sentence, the bravery demonstrated by those showcased in each episode of We're Here is worth more of our time than continuing to argue with strangers on Twitter about Chappelle. So I went to check out that 38 death count. The vast majority of them were non-white. I think we all know what that means. Also, to hell with Twitter. Not that his remarks aren't problematic. They are. No, they aren't. They're only problematic to you. You have a stick up your ass because you lack the ability to be self-deprecating. But as We're Here reminds us lovingly, it's important to save time for self-care and healing, perhaps some unlearning. Yes, unlearn your unhealthy obsession with group identity and start learning how to be an individual. Chappelle knows we're here. Yes, which is why he continues to make fun of you lot. The alphabet community and our allies, phrase makes me cringe, must remember to take time to show that we're here for each other as well. Only if they agree with your politics, let's be honest, you're all essentially ideological fundamentalists. If someone disagrees with you, you people treat them like a leper. In every town, in every period of time, yes, you will still scorn those who disagree. Oh, and Dave, that's every race. That's it? That's how you end this drivel? What a sour note, I can't end a video like this, it's not funny. Ah, screw it, watch Dave Chappelle's new special, The Closer. He's got some pretty good jokes in it. And that's all for today. Until next time.